Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ink and Blood. This is our eighth episode. In this episode, we're gonna unpack one of the topics that we discuss generally, the Kurdish topic, but academic Mujahid Bilici wrote a piece on service there, and he claimed that Turkey is a Kurdish state. In this episode, we will unpack: is Turkey a Kurdish state, and is it possible, and how can we approach it? Go ahead, Khan.
It was a provocative essay. I think he deliberately wanted to provoke thoughts, and you and I apparently fell for it. We thought it was important to discuss it. There are a couple of ways to look at it. One is, if in Ahval, the now defunct newspaper, I read an article that if DNA testing is illegal in Turkey because people are testing their DNA background, and they're finding out that a lot of them are Greeks, and a lot of them are Armenians, a lot of them are Jews. And in Turkey, the official line is that, everybody's a Turk, or everybody should be a Turk. And I think Mujahid Bilici, if there was free, and if people were free and people could test their DNA background, he may have something, something important. He may have said something really kind of irrelevant, if you will, because according to the Ahval article, 10% of Turkey is Turkish, about 25% is Greek, about 20% is Armenian, and then the other groups from Circassia, from Balkans. And that leaves about 25% Kurdish. And of course, I'm not for, just ethnicity-based governments. Personally, I don't think that's a good idea. I think Americans have it right. Laws should be supreme. Everybody should be equal before the laws. A republic of paper, if you will, rather than a republic of Turks or a republic of Kurds. And that's one point I wanted to make. The other point I would make is that, if you go to a zoo, you cannot say the zoo belongs to the lions, even though lions live in the zoo. In Turkey, Kurds live in Turkey, but they are not calling the shots. Turks are calling the shots. And the Kurdish language is on a tight leash. So I disagree with the statement that Turkey is a Kurdish state.
Just to clarify, I think I did not know that the doing a DNA test is illegal in Turkey.
According to the online Ahval article, a lot of people got curious about their backgrounds, and they started testing, and Turkey banned it. But I also think you cannot stop science. Just like before, remember, we would take photos and we would have to take them to the CVS or different places to develop the films. Now you can take a photo and you can post it online. So Turkey will not be able to stop the DNA testing. Eventually, people will actually be able to test. As you know, as I know, Turkey is a very multicultural state. Middle East is a very, has been home for many civilizations. And to say that all of a sudden everybody is a Turk is a dream of some Turkish nationalists, but it's not functional. It's not healthy, because people don't want to be forced to say that they are Turks. They want to, if they're Greeks, they want to say God created them Greek, and they want to be Greeks. But yes, I read that article is online.
Wow! I did not know that. I will check after this episode. I still can't believe that it is possible in Turkey to ban DNA. I mean, there must be some condition. There must be some mistake, because it was in this government that allowed to open the access to your ancestry online. Remember, it created a little surprises for many people because they found out that many of their grandfathers and so on and so forth named with Armenians, Greeks, and so on and so forth, who themselves believed that they were, the Turks, ethnic Turks, and so on and so on. Anyway, Turkey is a graveyard for identities, right? So the Kemalism simply killed many identities. Only surviving identities, few surviving identities. One of the few is Kurdish identity. Now, Mujahid claims that it is Kurdish state is a Turk. I mean, there is a legal base for this. I think that as if you look at the documentations, the founding documents of Turkey, Turkey indeed state for the Kurds. But later practice, especially in 1925, separated that option, and Turkish constitution does not recognize Kurds as their own state, right?
And everybody in Turkey is a Turk. People who are born inside Turkey is a Turk by definition. Article 66, if my memory serves me right, something again to the effect that you cannot change. Everything is Turkish. If you analyze the most sacred documents that put together the country called Turkey, there's no reference to the Kurds. But there's an emphasis on the Turks. If there was no emphasis on the Turks, if it was a republic of the peoples of the country, of the peoples of Anatolia and Kurdistan, then I don't think the problems that we have had, we will have. When you say that, this country belongs to the Turks, then Kurds like me say, well, if it doesn't belong to me, then I want to, divorce. Or I want to have my rights recognized. As far as the Lausanne Treaty, the Turks and Kurds put together this country. Before 1914, before the war started, the Turks, the Kurds, the Arabs were the dominant. They were Muslims, and the Muslims were in charge of the Ottoman Empire. So Kurds didn't feel they were not discriminated. A Kurdish intellectual could become the governor of Edirne, if you will. After 1923, when the republic was put together, there was an emphasis on, giving, for example, top positions in the military to the Sunni Turks, and then to downplaying the role of the Kurds. Even today, if you go to Turkey and check the backgrounds of the top generals inside Turkey, you will not find many Kurds. And since we are from the Middle East, in Syria, 11% of Alawites control the Syrian state, and according to an American reporter whose name I'm forgetting now, top 6 positions in the Syrian army are reserved for the Alawites. Only the seventh position was for the Sunni Arabs.
I hear you, but there would be a ton of counter arguments. Currently, in the last 20 years, there is a Georgian descent guy ruling the country. Tayyip Erdogan is not himself a Turk, and his wife is an Arab, right? And in the last 20 years, the most important key positions were given to the Kurds. Currently, Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan is a Kurd from one. And Erdogan's vice president is a Kurd. And intelligence chief is a Kurd. And who else? I can name, at least if he has 20 members in the cabinet, and at least 10 of them are Kurds. And in the past, there were generals, and Turgut Özal was half Kurd. And what kind of Kurds are you looking in the positions that would satisfy you? That if the Kurds comes to the place, I mean, what kind of Kurds, or what is the situation? What is your definition of Kurds and who are not allowed to come to the position?
Yeah. Well, let's say Native Americans were in power in America, and they were interior ministers, and they were Secretary of Treasury and Secretary of State in the U.S. In 1810s, in 1820s. Do you think we would have had something called the Trail of Tears, the Cherokees being forced out of Georgia to go to Oklahoma? The Kurds that you are lining up and who are now calling the shots under a Georgian called Recep Tayyip Erdogan, they are not really at peace with themselves. They are all following a fiction called, Turkish nationalism, which is, in my opinion, a poison for the Anatolia, for the region. Because the moment you glorify one race, you open the door for the glorification of the other race, the other people. And Turkey is not just of Turks. There are a lot of other peoples. And, Cullen, Fidan, Altun, they could call themselves Turks. I'm okay with it. They may have gone to Turkish schools. They may have grown up in homes that Kurdish was downplayed and Turkish was, highlighted.
They don't.
Yeah, go ahead.
They don't deny their Kurdishness. When you ask them,
yeah,
well, we are Kurds too. I mean,
good point. But you need to go to the root of the problem. If they are Kurds too, and they're Kurdish parliamentarians who speak in the Turkish parliament, and the mic is turned off, Ibrahim Kalin and Hakan Fidan and Fahrettin Altun, if they're worth their salt, if they are really have a little bit of dignity left in them, they would say, this parliament does not represent me. My ancestors are Kurdish. I may not have had a chance to learn Kurdish because of Turkey's assimilation policies, but my people are a fact of life. They live in the heart of the Middle East, in the Kurdish areas of Turkey, Iraq, Syria, and Iran. And we need to respect this language, and we need to accept this language the way we respect and accept French, the way we respect and accept English or Russian or Arabic. They don't do that. They are afraid. They have phobias. They say, if Fidan says, like Turgut Özal, for example, if he says, I'm Kurdish, his popularity among nationalist circles in Turkey will nosedive. Ümit Özdağ will start calling him a turncoat, a traitor, and he's afraid of Ümit Özdağ. So, Kurds are not free to say they're Kurds. I've never heard Ibrahim Kalin say, I'm Kurd. I've never heard Hakan Fidan say, I'm a Kurd. I'm not saying people should say, go out and wear their identity on their sleeve and say, I'm Kurd or Turk. Deep down, we're all human beings. We all deserve respect. We all deserve, to be recognized who we are. But unfortunately, what Voltaire once observed is valid in Turkey. If you make people believe in absurdities, you will make people commit atrocities. If you make people like Hakan Fidan and Ibrahim Kalin and Hayrettin Altun deny their reality, live in a fiction.
As long as when it is necessary, if they accept that they're Kurds in their friendship circles, and at least they're not denying that, no, I'm not a Kurd, and things like that. I don't know. We need to make a clearer sentence. Who's Kurd? Should we call them house Kurds, as Erdogan was called?
That's a good one. Yeah, they could be house Kurds, the way Black Americans were called house niggers, and the ones that were in the fields were called field niggers, and the ones in the house at least got to learn how to cook or how to play piano or how to learn how to read their names. The comparison with the Black Americans is not really valid. I think the real comparison is with Native Americans, and the Native Americans, fought back, and they were no match to the Turks or to the to the Americans, to the English, and they got wiped out. I recommend, for example, to my fellow Kurds, fighting is not everything. They could also fight in the fields of science, in the fields of education, in the fields of physical endurance, like Olympics, and bid their time when they are ready to make claims for greater political space. Then they should make it. But with arms, I'm a student of Mahatma Gandhi, and I'm a student of Dr. King. I'm urging my fellow Kurds to demand their rights, but non-violently, because they end up losing more, and that is not, it's not good for Turks. It's not good for Kurds to cultivate enmity, to cultivate hatred, to cultivate disunity. I think there's a lot we could learn from one another, and we could live side by side as friends, as neighbors, as we have for centuries.
And when you're calling them to fight without violently, I mean, what is for? I mean, to make Turkey as a Kurdish state, or
Yeah,
make themselves as an independent state?
yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I personally believe every people should enjoy their right of self-determination. Every people, no exceptions. But that doesn't mean, for example, in the heart of Europe, you have Germany in Austria, you have them in Switzerland, you have them in Luxembourg, and you have them in Germany. So there's no self-determination there per se. There's self-determination, but it's in 4 countries. And in the Middle East too, if Kurds, let's say, unite and without violence are able to convince their neighbors that they should, be a Kurdish state, then I'm for it. But if they want to live in Turkey, and let's say Turkey joins EU, and then they become the beneficiaries of, a big market, beneficiaries of a dynamic society like EU, I'm all for it. I mean, I quote this example, and I will repeat here. In 1991, Ukraine and Poland had equal gross national product in terms of per capita. Poland joined the EU, and Ukraine couldn't. Polish individual income now is 4 times higher than the Ukrainian individual income. And Turkey, if joins EU, let's say, it changes its, it doesn't put people in jail for freedom of speech, doesn't call people like you and me a threat to national security, to their national security, then Turkey could be part of EU too, and Turkey's economy could, get bigger than what it is. That is good. I am not for, just because Kurds are Kurds, they have to have a state. Kurdish intellectuals, Kurdish leaders have to decide what is best for them. I'm all for that. But for my personal opinion, if you ask for it, I am what Lincoln once said: self-government is better than good government. I'm all for self-government. People need to have their agency respected and accepted.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure about whether Ibrahim Lincoln is right when you think of the Turks in Germany, and they do have a state in Turkey, but they live in Germany under good government, and much of them are much happier in Germany, despite the fact that some claim that Turkey is a Vatan, and we don't want to we live in Germany, but none of them for 3 generations returned to or wanted to return back to Turkey, despite the fact that they are very nationalistic and they do their things in Germany. but I think the good government serve their interests best in Germany than bad government in Turkey. I mean, I'm not sure about it. Let, I
Well,
have your response
I mean,
about this,
but
and then
let me
but
just add something though. There's a lot of brain drain to Germany right now. The best engineers, the best doctors, the best administrators are leaving. Some of them I know personally because I'm in touch with a lot of people in Turkey. As far as the Turks and Kurds who went there beginning 1962 and now number 3 million and vote for Erdogan or speak more about Turkey than enjoy Germany. Yeah, I think I will blame nationalism. This poisonous effect of nationalism that they are, Turks. They are. Uh, we're not really, British poet Lord Tennyson has a wonderful saying. He says, "I am a sum of all the people I have met." So they're not really Turks. They're half German, or they're half Romanian, or they're a quarter Greek. They're 10% Serbian, because they interact with these people more. But they have this dream in their head that they're pure Turk, and that pure Turkness, when it hits the reality, you have racism. You have the glorification of the sign, wolf sign. And this is what Hitler did to Germany, to Europe. 65 million people died in the Second World War. If Turks and Kurds want to blow on the horn of nationalism, they haven't learned a thing from history. I would say that approach this issue with care. It's a dangerous drink. Nationalism will make you drunk, and you will wake up with bruises on your head or dead. The after effect of being drunk is dangerous. It's not healthy.
yeah. Let me ask you a little, geopolitical question tying to the Kurdish question. As we know that Iran and Israel has been practically in fight, and they often Iran blamed Kurds aiding Israel, and Israel has been calling a Kurdish independence for political reasons, for strategic reasons, whatever the reasons is. And if you, after this war, I don't know how long will it end, if Israel comes on top, right, and Iran regime lost, and then let's assume the best, that Iranian regime simply fall apart, and we have seen a new administration in Iran. Do you think that the Kurds would have a chance, with the support of Israel and the West, to get an independent, at least in Iraq and Syria?
Yeah, very good question. In 1941, Iran was occupied by Great Britain and Soviet Union. And in Azerbaijan and in Kurdistan of Iran, 2 autonomous regions were created: Republic of Kurdistan and Republic of Azerbaijan. And Russian soldiers were there playing administrative role, but the Kurds were in charge of Kurdistan and Azeris were in charge of Azerbaijan. Until 1946, then because of the Cold War, they were forced out. If Iran implodes, the war, takes a turn for the wars for Tehran. We don't know, of course. Iran could become like the Soviet Union of 1991. I believe there are a lot of Azeris who are unhappy, a lot of Kurds who are unhappy, a lot of Arabs, a lot of Baluch, a lot of Turkmen, and they constitute majority of the population of Iran. Whether they go separate or they have a confederation, like a loose autonomy, a weak central government in Tehran, and then still a country called Iran. I don't know which way it will go. But if I were to guess for you, yeah, I could see Iranian Kurdistan saying we want to be free of Tehran. I think this generation, 2024 Kurdish generation, is a lot more aware of the absence of their rights than 1946 generation. A lot of people in 1946 were still farmers, didn't even have access to radio. Today, a lot of Kurds have something called iPhone or a smartphone in their hands. Immediately they know what's going on in Geneva or in Tel Aviv or in Jerusalem or in Tehran. So I think politically speaking, Kurds are much more mobile. And if Iranians attack Israel, if Iran attacks Israel, we could see the emergence of new boundaries, a changed political atmosphere or scene in the region, in the Middle East, in Iran, in Iraq too. Yes, I do.
I mean, but at the same time, when you listen the supporters of Shah, and they're much more nationalistic than the current regime, aren't they? I mean, they are, I think, the most likely candidate for post-regime positions. And when you ask them, well, would you support the Kurdish rights? I mean, no, they say no.
No. The Iranian Pahlawis will see Tehran in their dreams. I don't think history, rotates backward. It rotates forward. It moves forward. Iranians themselves have, last 40 years have changed. If anything, they want more democracy. If anything, they want to have more interaction with the West. When 9/11 happened, I don't know if you remember, in very few places in the Middle East, people took to the streets to express their solidarity with the US. Tehran was one of them. Iranians were one of them. And that's because in 1970s and 80s, or 60s and 70s, a lot of Americans were in Iran. Yes, the American imperialism, yes, Nixon's foreign policy was, not good. But person-to-person interaction with average Persians, average Americans, created somebody like the top Obama administration official, Valerie, whose last name I'm forgetting now. She grew up in Iran. She was born in Iran. She played a significant role in nudging Obama to have a nuclear treaty with Iran. So Iranians, I think, are thirsting for freedom, thirsting for transparency, thirsting for democracy more than we credit them. As far as the Pahlawis, I wouldn't bet on it personally.
I mean, they would smash you on the internet if you because we said. But I agree with you. I think Pahlavis is just doing. They misunderstood Iran and they just don't count. I think I see in them that what I call the Ahmed Chalabi syndrome of Iraq. I don't know if you remember that. Ahmed Chalabi was lobbying for Bush administrations to invade Iraq, and he was telling Bush administration that Iraqis will welcome them with the roses and open arms, but instead Iraqis welcome them with Kalashnikovs and bombs, right? So this diaspora community sometimes misunderstood the change in a home country. I think this is what is happening with Iranian diaspora as well.
Well, I'll add one thing else. When Chalabi was lobbying in the U.S. in Washington and misleading Americans in terms of what was coming up, what will await them in Iraq, the monarchists of Iraq were also here. They also said, Iraqis are looking forward to monarchy and they will welcome us. I'm forgetting the guy's name now. He was a British accented, grew up in London, has probably no clue of what Baghdad looks like. But he thought the people in Baghdad would welcome his family back and declare a monarchy in Iraq. They did not. I mean, Iraq is an Iranian-dominated Shiite state now, but people vote, and let's hope that democracy takes root and real representative governments come to power, as opposed to a puppet government that is controlled by Tehran as we speak.
Yeah. Okay. So you're not expecting an Iraqi Kurdistan independence sooner than the Kurds in Iran?
There is no manual for when the states will become free, especially in the Middle East. A lot of luck, a lot of happenstance, unexpected events. If in 1910 you had said in 1948 there would be a Jewish state in present day Israel or Palestine, people would have laughed at you. So I avoid predictions. One thing I don't avoid is the level of awareness is rising among the Kurds that they don't have rights, and they are clamoring for rights, and that is an unstoppable force that I don't deny. And ideally, the ruling circles in Tehran, in Ankara, in Damascus, in Baghdad should get used to it and accommodate it. But if they try to suppress it with an iron fist, the iron fist could boomerang and hit them in the head, in their own head as well.
Okay. With that, let's hope the force be with you guys.
Thank you.
All right. See you next week, Connie.
See you.